Good morning. What is going on, profitable stylists? We are talking. What are we talking about today, Bernard?
Uh, I don't know. I can't see it.
It's something that's used to create volume. It's
Uh,
something that's attached to the hair.
okay.
It could create
A hat.
fullness,
Um, Shampoo.
contrast,
Conditioner.
shampoo, and clothes.
Color. Color.
It can create dimension. It can create fun styles and accents,
You
but
have
it
played
but
this game
it's
before.
more for the style.
Are you talking about hair extensions?
I know, trying to play this game, trying to get good at this game, describing something without. Wait, how is it? Tell me what it is without telling me what it is.
Well, that's exactly how people should sell hair extensions, right? First of all, what does that mean? What does that word mean? I think that even stylists and customers, I think we all have an idea of what we think that means. How about the word itself? The word itself, I always say I don't know, it's been used so much now that it has this meaning attached to it that we can't go and change it or anything. But the word itself means to make longer, right? Extend. So immediately we say, we're going to do a hair show this year and we're going to do everything but length. We're going to do all the thing extensions can do other than adding length. So we put our feelers out, we get models in an area, and then we try to explain to each model, we're going to do everything but length. And they're like, I'm not really interested. Or they're like, okay. They get there and they're like, so how long are we going to go? We talked on the phone. And they're like, but it's extensions. And so it's hard to get you use the word extensions and saying we're not going to make your hair longer. I get why they're a little confused. And I just got mad at first because I'm like, we talked about this on the phone.
How many times? We every correspondence we said we are not, adding.
We're not making your hair longer. We're going to make it all the things, and we'll go into more detail about how this happens. But we're gonna make it thicker. We're gonna do highlights, low lights, a band of color. We're gonna do so many creative things that people should be doing more of in the salon, because some of us do and make tons of money doing it. But we want to kind of highlight that, and even the models are like, that's not what I thought you were going to do. And so I can see why the topic is not so popular, but it's so rewarding in so many ways. I mean, just recently, I took a whole bunch of like extra hair that we just had around the shop. And like, this is 14-inch hair. It's a lot more than you would think. 18 is probably our more commonly used length. But we had a whole bunch of extra hair like this that we use in classes, right? So we're using all this hair in classes and we have it left over. So I have a couple of new stylists that I want to teach how to do extensions. And I said, we can either put it on these mannequins or we can put it on each other. Not me, but you girls can put it on each other. And they're like, oh, let's see if I have my color. And they're looking at our table that we have over here and they're all laid out. And she's looking, and so, yeah, they're excited. They're going to match their color. And they're like, none of it's long enough. I said, you know what? We are not adding length. We're putting one weft in just to add fullness, thickness. It's mostly so you can feel what extensions feel like. In this case, we're doing a beaded weft. And so today we're going to talk about all the ways that you can use extensions that are not length. And it's some pretty creative stuff. But you know what really lit this one girl up in a positive way? At first, she was just excited. Hair on her head. It's just fun. And then second, oh, not length? Well, okay, well, let me see if we can match my color. You don't have to match your color. If we're not adding length, it will add dimension. It can be lighter or darker. And she happens to have these two blonde streaks in the front, which she calls a money piece. I just hate the term money piece. I don't know. It sounds so not classy. But it's the word everybody uses. Do you want a money piece? And it's like, I don't know what that means. Yeah. So she already has this money piece and she looks at the blonde hair on the table. She goes, I could use the blonde. Or maybe I said it first. I think I said it first. And she said, I can use the blonde, And so and her hair is medium brown, So we part the hair off, we put it in there. And you know what it did? It looked like highlights because
Yeah.
it would pop and peek through, peekaboo kind of highlight. Another word I don't love, but I like it a little bit more than money piece. So now she's got these peekaboo blonde highlights popping through her brown hair. And this is months ago. She's had them taken out and put back in quite a few times. She loves it because the blonde, we can't put extensions in that look like it came right out of your scalp here. So that's real bleach on her hair, you know? And now the money piece brings a platinum blonde highlight through it, and she loves it so much. And it's way cheaper and faster than a full head of extensions.
And it's more consistent as well. In addition, for the management, as far as, you know, cheaper and stuff, the hair on the top of your head is way easier to maintain in color than it is the rest of your hair all throughout, because the hair on the top of the head, generally speaking, that gets more processed from the sun or from, you know, styling, or just in general. The hair on the top of the head is beat up more than the hair throughout the interior.
That's
So
true.
being able to tone it, being able to maintain it, being able to make it look like a thing, people spend more time making this look good because that's the first thing everybody sees. Well, all that hair inside the interior, trying to get that even, light, consistent, not to fade out, and to match with the top, you're always going to have a discrepancy in there. So being able to go in with a hair extension rather than going in with color and trying to physically force your hair to become whatever contrast or whatever accent or whatever, it's so, that's another way of why it's so much more efficient to use hair extensions.
So that I would say would make hair thicker because you're adding hair no matter what, right? So it's going to add thickness. So you can add thickness, but why not at the same time add dimension? Maybe a highlight, maybe a low light, but even if the color's slightly off, that's why I say you can stock some hair. You can stock just some lighter hair, medium hair, darker hair, one or two colors in each category, and cover most of your clients, whether you're doing individual strands or wefts. You can have the hair ready, because my whole thing was, and it's funny because I'm reading a book right now. And when I say I'm reading a book, I read a book like Joe Rogan. I listen to a book. I like it. I heard him say something about reading a book recently, and I was like, when's he got time for that? He's doing 3-hour podcasts every day. And he said something about, well, I listen to books. I was like, that's how I read. I like the way he reads. So I'm listening to a book right now, and he's talking about industry terms, industry standards. And I heard this many, many years ago, and it really hit home to me that I actually kind of tailor all of my teachings around this one philosophy: industry terms or industry standards as far as words. Like, this is one of them. This word here, what does it even mean? Because even in our world, it could mean glue, wefts, strands, K-tips, I-tips, beaded strands, wigs, hair pieces, hair replacement. It could mean so many things, and a client doesn't know. Hairdressers don't even know what the word means.
Because it's a category. It's not a specific technique. It's just a category term.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And so when you talk, when somebody tells me, I don't want to learn hair extensions because nobody's asking for them, or I don't have those kind of clients, that's from the hairdresser level. But you've also got the client level. So the hairdresser level, they don't get asked for them. Maybe because the client doesn't even know what they are or how they work, but they just heard. Because I can remember, I'm a hairdresser, and the first time I started hearing and learning about hair extensions, I literally wondered, how do they go in? I had no clue. Never seen them before, never heard about them, never looked it up. How old are you, Bernard? There was no YouTube. That's how old I am. There was no
You're older than the internet.
I'm older than the internet.
I am too, but yeah.
Yeah, and so there was no quick, easy way to figure it out. What is a hair extension? I literally thought maybe it extends it, right? So I thought somehow they're adding a hair onto this end and then going longer. And I wondered, how in the world do they extend it? Because I knew that all of these hairs, if you added more hairs here and went longer, well, I always thought that's going to thicken up where they already have hair. So that's going to be, how do you add hair way up there? And I didn't really get that that's already how hair worked, the shedding process, the new hair is growing. It was already a little thicker at the scalp, gets thinner at the ends. And yes, so now thinning the client's ends comes into play. So you don't have that line of demarcation, but all extensions start near the scalp. So just my limited knowledge as a hairdresser, not even understanding how extensions work, I think this 30 something years later, I think that there's still some hairdressers don't know how it works, but most clients still don't understand what it means. So I don't think selling hair extensions by just saying, do you want hair extensions? Would you like hair extensions? Even in the marketing, come get hair extensions. I don't think it's going to be as effective as saying the things or the problems that hair extensions solve. That's what you advertise for. That's what you tell a client. And so the one girl that really listened to me well one time, and we hit it hard, she was texting me her numbers every day. I said, stock some hair and ask every single client, act like you have this sign on your forehead, hair extensions, and don't use that word, and try to tell them or ask them if they could benefit from some of the things that this could possibly help them with. So ask a client, and I always say, Miss Jones. Hello, Miss Jones. You're doing a color today. Hey, Miss Jones, what do you say we make your hair a little thicker today? Kind of like you started off today. You've got that word on your head. You can't use that word. And she's going to say, how? Or what do you mean? Or what would she say? I mean, you guys out there help me out. Put it in the comments or something. What if you asked your client, what do you say we make your hair a little thicker today? Or do you want a little thicker hair? Would you like your hair a little thicker? It's crazy because girls with very thick hair almost always still say yes.
And they always say, oh my God, when I was younger, my hair was so much thicker.
Me too. And most people say I have the thickest hair of anybody they know. And I still had thicker hair when I was younger.
When he was younger.
Yeah. So even I would like a little more hair. You know, I would like it a little thicker. Now, extensions doesn't work as well on short hair like this, although some people do it successfully. It works better with a little bit longer hair, past the ears or longer. So when you say that to a lady, usually the answer is yes, I'd like my hair thicker. And then go into describing the technique you like to do. Even all the ones I hate, if all you do is tape ins, and I'm going to say some good stuff about tape ins today. You guys are going to love this. So if you want to hear Bernard talk good about tape ins, stay here for just a little longer. I was at a hair show this last weekend, and not last weekend, a couple weekends ago, and our competitor, the only competitor at the show, because it was a hair replacement show and they don't have many extensions, but there was a tape-in hair extension booth right next to us. And I don't love tape-ins. You know, I hate to use that strong word of hate. So I won't say I hate hair extensions that are tape. So I was watching over there because they put tape-ins on Janine, the lady who runs the show.
Oh, cool.
And
okay.
She's got red hair. Oh my God. It's so hard to match the right shade of red from orange to burgundy to everything in between. You know, there's so many violet and so many shades of red, but they were putting them on, and I didn't love the color match necessarily, but some of the things they did, I had never seen done with tape-ins. And that was intriguing to me because it can be used with another technique I don't love that I'm going to say is hand tied. You can do some things with that, but let's get back to Miss Jones. She's, Miss Jones here. Would you like your hair a little? Would you like if we could thicken your hair a little bit? And she's like, "What do you think? What do you think she'd say, Eddie?" I mean, they say yes, and then what are they going to ask?
They'll say yes, and they say, "Well, why? Do you have some kind of new product, or do you have some kind of new brush?" That's usually their first go-to.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting to me because I never got the brush one. A brush is going to make their hair thicker. Oh yeah, they tease it.
Well, no, because there's all these there's these new blow dryer brush.
Round brushes, yep.
And then it's trending right now, so everybody's hip on that. Like everybody's excited about that thing because it's trending. But usually it's a product. Usually it's the first thing they say is, "Oh, I've used so many thickening sprays, they never work," or "Do you have some kind of product
or a pill?" Yeah, and then you got the curling iron looking apparatuses that make noise because they're blowing air. Also, they're like, whoo. I'm like,
I think like a blow dryer,
Well, it's a curling iron blow dryer. I know one of my hairdressers has one. I'm like, is that curling iron making noise? What do I hear over there? And they're like, whoo.
It's
I'm like, How is your iron making noise? Well, it's also air. It's blowing air.
Hair wrap, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe it's gimmicky. Maybe it works. I didn't try it. The hair looked good when she was done. She probably could have did the same thing with some other tools. But the point is, you're right. That's what the clients are thinking. Maybe the gimmicky things that they've seen advertised or the trendy things. And you're saying, no, well, I mean, we have that too. But no, what I'm talking about is adding some hair to your head. But base bottom line, adding some hair. I'm going to put some hair. And like from the floor, from where, from, they don't even know where the hair's coming from, And so we're going to add some hair to your head, human, 100% human hair. I have hair in your color or a little darker, so we can add a little low light, or I have a little lighter, so we're going to make it a little lighter. We're just going to add some in to thicken those sides a little, or that top a little bit. And and how does it stay in? She might ask, she might not care. She might just say, that sounds like fun. And so you just do it.
Well, they usually say that sounds fun, and then they follow up with, "Oh, isn't that expensive?"
Maybe
because they're thinking celebrity, full head, long.
Maybe they're thinking celebrity. That's right. So that's another thing to talk about is that's the reason you don't use the word extension or hair extensions, because hairdressers some don't do extensions because they think they take too long, they're expensive, or they're not expensive and they're crap and they tangle and fall apart and damage people's heads or hair. Some of the customers think the same thing. So you've got so much negative press out there, or negative things about hair extensions
because
in general.
It's misnomers.
Right. Or at some point, or you just know somebody that had a bunch of damage from or that's the things that get marketed or advertised too, right? It was funny because I heard this the other day in the salon. Somebody that's new with us, she said, God, now I see so many bad wigs and hair pieces around, because we do hair replacement and wigs. She goes, I didn't even notice them before I worked here, but now I see them everywhere. And one of my stylists, it was a good comeback. He said, you only notice the bad ones. And she goes,
okay.
What? Goes, what? And I said, right. Because when they're done good, you don't know they're there. Now you're just aware that not everybody's hair is their own hair. Somebody put it on their head. And if they do a bad job or the client styles it badly, it's noticeable, right? But if it's good, you don't even know. So now you're thinking, same thing with extensions. You see and notice bad ones. You hear about the damaged ones. The ones that are really good and love their hair, they're not getting on Facebook and saying, oh, a few do, but most of them are saying, oh my God, I love my hair. It's so much longer because look, I got hair extensions. I thought it was going to look fake, but it doesn't. Those girls are just doing all the pictures about how good they look, and that's it. They're just doing
they're enjoying their service.
They're enjoying their hair. They're enjoying their life. Right. They're just loving more hair. And I do so many consultations for people that are so worried about situations like that. Then I do their hair and never hear from them again. They come in every 6 to 8 weeks. They get their redone done. And 3-4 years later, I might see them in the salon and they're like, this is the best thing I've ever done. But you never hear a thing from them. Nobody knows they have it in. Yeah. They don't. Yeah. Some of their husbands don't. They just don't even think about it anymore. They just love their thicker hair and they keep doing it. And that's the beauty of it. It's a big money maker. And how much is it? Like that one weft. It depends. If you got 10 inches, 14, 18, or 22 inches, then you might be talking about extensions. But at 10 and 14 inches, you're probably, that's 14 inches, by the way, you might just be thickening some hair or adding some color. And it might be $100 or $200. Who can't add that?
It may not be as expensive as you realize.
Right. And so then
for the same price of a highlight color service, now you've got color that won't fade. You've got hair, you've got more hair, more volume. You have more flexibility in creating style options. Now you can create layers throughout your hair as well too. You may open up possibilities to styles that you may not have been aware that you had, availability to.
So there's so many bonuses. You brought the layers in. Tell them what we were talking about before we got on here that you were thought was pretty creative with extensions and the problems.
Yeah, because especially this summer and in particular, especially this past 3-4 weeks, I've been getting a lot of phone calls. I need help with color matching and I need help with styling. Those have been the top two calls that I've been constantly getting every day, every other day. And now that I'm, when I was talking to you about it, I was thinking about it. A lot of the calls in regards to I'm having trouble with the styling, I need help. Everybody's ordering the same length. They keep ordering the longest possible, 18 inches or 22 inches. Those are the two longer lengths. And they keep ordering those lengths, and then they keep struggling with trying to chop them up, make them shorter, and blend them all together and to create layers that flow without it looking too far disconnected.
They're trying to layer, but they're chopping it up is what you're saying.
They're chopping it up. They're just chopping up all that length so much shorter. So then I'll suggest, and I'll say, you realize, or you may not realize, I don't know, but let me remind you, there is also two shorter lengths. There is a 10-inch and a 14-inch, which would make your life so much easier. Well, then they'll go in and they'll order that. And I'll go through and I'll explain it all and I'll have a conversation with them. But then I don't know in the heat of the moment what happens. But I'll get the phone call and then it's the same conversation all over again. I use I ordered a shorter length, like you said, alongside a longer one, and I'm still having trouble blending it. Well, let's talk it out. Well, it turns up to be a lot of people are putting the shorter length through the bottom, and then they're putting the longer length through the top.
And that can
going in trying to change it up again.
That can be a technique. Have you thought about that?
It can be a technique. If you're trying to establish a proper weight line for length,
no layering.
Length, no layering or very minimal layering, it completely makes sense to put the shorter length at the bottom because it doesn't have as far to reach down your body. Whereas the higher up you put the length, the higher up you put the extension, the longer length you need to reach the bottom, wherever you're trying to create that length across your body.
Right.
So yes, that makes sense. But when it comes to styling, where length isn't so much, or a weight line isn't so much, you don't need such a thick weight line. You need something more shattered, right? Or like more shaggy or something like that. Reverse your placement. Put the shorter one through the top. Let it not fall all the way down. Put the longer one through the bottom, get that extra length in there and have it be wispy through the ends. Right. So then this way, when you're creating all the tiers of layering, everything falls a lot more naturally. And it's so much easier. It's so much less hassle and work. So
that's what I saw with the tape ends that I had never thought of before. So with tape ends, you're generally putting two pieces of tape together and two sections of hair. And I had years ago put two different colors together on purpose,
that's fun.
The lighter and the darker, top or bottom, depending on how you want it to look. That way, when you layer it, the top one's gonna get layered more. And if it's the dark hair on top and you're layering it, you're gonna have lighter hair flowing out the bottom. But this girl was using two different colors and two different lengths.
So she's creating a natural, like a balayage or an ombre effect almost.
So she was, doing like I can't remember if it was a darker light over the top, but it was a shorter tape in over a longer tape in and two different colors. And so one color was flowing into the other color. And I thought, that's freaking genius. I never thought about that. Then I realized with people that are stacking 1,400 hand-tied wefts on top of each other, they could do the same thing. Most people are stacking at least 2 or 3 hand-tied wefts. Why wouldn't they be doing different lengths and different colors? Every time I see it, it's 3 or 4 or 7 of one color. And I'm thinking, you know what? If you put 2 or 3 different lengths in there, at least 2 or 3 different colors, you don't have to order ombre balayage or highlighted colors. You could do the highlight yourself by putting different colors together. Never in 20 years of selling hair extensions, I've never really had enough, in my opinion, enough people taking advantage of the highlight, low light colors where they're blonde browns already mixed together. Those were always my favorite. And to me, it was more of I would make it part of my formula, put that in there somewhere because it just broke up the colors and made everything blend a little bit better, whether you're doing length or not. So
there is this insane fear that if the color isn't such an exact, precise, perfect match, that it's going to be a failed service.
And that's why I like a highlight, low light color, because most people's color is not one solid color. They're like, even my hair color right now has got multiple colors in it. So if I could put both the brown, the darker brown and the lighter medium brown in there, it's going to kind of break up the lines anyway.
Absolutely. And the other thing, what a lot of people don't think about is you do a fresh hair color and then you match up the hair extension to what that fresh hair color is going to be. But natural hair, unfortunately, will lose its vibrancy, its sheen, and its shine over time. It's what people refer to as fading. That's not technically correct, but whatever. We're going with what people are using as layman terms. So when people think their color faded, but the hair extensions won't, so now you automatically have dimension and a mismatch in color anyways. So then the argument always becomes, do you match the hair extensions to when the color is worn before a fresh touch up? Or do you match the hair extensions to a fresh touch up?
Or I was going to bring up the next thing is where do you match the color?
Or where do you match it up,
that's
right?
the biggest mistake, right? Because if you've got hair, let me just grab a couple of these on your head coming from whatever here to here. Most people's hair, even this, looks a little lighter here than it does here. And if I put hair extensions in, imagine my arm is the extensions. Well, you don't even see the hand of extensions until it starts to veil out somewhere. This is where the blend line is. So on the client, this is the color you need to match the extensions to mostly. Sure, you could put some darker in there, but you got to think the color of the ends is where you got to match. And you don't even have that problem if you're not making length. If you're just doing thickening or just thickening the sides a little, you can easily just be using something a little bit lighter. I know we even are just like defaulting into full heads of hair extensions and what people do wrong even with that. But that's what I love so much about not adding length. Most people that could use a little extra hair, you don't have all the problems with extensions are eliminated. You don't have the cut blend. You don't have the color blend. You don't have the fullness, the thickness, like you didn't put enough in. So it doesn't, so you look like one of the, like you should be on the website, people of Walmart's book or whatever with the 5 strands of extensions hanging out. And it's like, they just didn't get a good haircut. No cut's going to fill in those gaps. So you don't have any of the problems and then somebody said it to me, and I'm into investing. So this one made sense to me. And I don't know if many people can relate to this example, but for those out there that are big into money versus time, this is what really got me one time. They said, and I had a couple of rental houses that had nobody in them. They both moved out at the same time, and I'm having to pay the house note on 2 rental houses and my own house, and nobody's living in 2 of them. And I was like, oh my, I was depending on the renters to pay the note. So when they left, I didn't have anybody. And so around that time, somebody was describing this to me, and this is kind of how I think about what I'm getting ready to talk about with extensions. If I have a rental house, one rental house, and the renter moves out, I have no income coming in. If I have an apartment complex, even a 4-plex, if I have a 4-plex with 4 units and they're all full and somebody moves out, the rent from 3 of them still coming in. So hopefully the 3 are paying a little bit more rent than what I actually owe on it. So they're actually covering the 4th person. If I have an apartment complex with 10 units, maybe 2 or 3 could be empty and I still can afford the note if I borrowed money from the bank. So with extensions, if I do a full head of hair extensions, I mean, lots and lots of hair, that person has to continue staying in extensions, and it's more expensive. And there's a bigger chance that they say, this is an expensive endeavor. I think I'm going to hold off for now. But if I'm just putting little bitty jobs on people throughout the week, and I put little jobs on 5 or 10 people during the week, just like the multiplex, 10 people, what are the chances in 6 weeks that all 10 people are not going to get their little highlight, low light thickening service?
Somebody's going to get it done.
Most of them, right?
Yeah.
So even if 1 or 2 back out, this is a much better way to make money in extensions, is not trying so hard to do full heads. Now, although some of these small jobs, they grow and they grow and grow because hair is addictive. And so it does turn into some full heads, and that is fine because it's profitable. But if I just have K-tips and I'm using she hair and I can buy a pack of hair that only has just 10 strands in it, I can put 5 strands here, 5 strands here, and do it for like $150 and have just, it could be 100, it could be 200, but roughly
Yeah,
150.
well, whatever it is, right?
Right. And add thickness to a lady's head or a little bit of a framing of a little darker or a little lighter. Or their hair got cut a little too short on the side by the last hairdresser. So I'm fixing and adding hair and highlights or lowlights or their same color. And so now I've thickened the sides in 2 or 3 months. We take it out and we do it again. Who's not going to do another $150, $200 job? But if I got to take it all out and redo a $2,000 or $3,000 hair extension job, they're going to think twice. Like, oh, okay, can I afford it? Is it in my budget? Should I do it? They're going to think about it. You don't even think about a couple $100 job. So you're going to keep more people in this more profitable service because you're solving more problems. But if you're looking at it as a businessman, you're also taking out a lot of the risk of them not doing it again because you're doing a lot more small jobs that you can easily fit in your days too.
It's such a great advice. That is such a powerful and such a great advice. Something to think about. Somebody who parts their hair to one side, not somebody who parts their hair in the middle, or even somebody who parts their hair in the middle, but this will make more sense. Somebody who parts their hair to one side, they generally have more hair coming over to the one side. The other side that doesn't have as much hair, we refer to as the weaker side.
Sure.
That weaker side can tell you how many times I love individual strands. You put in a couple of individual strands, even if you put in 2 or 3. I mean, obviously, the more you put in, the better. But the power of just putting in 2, 3 strands and filling in that weaker side just to balance it all out, because that makes a lot of people self-conscious more than a lot of hairdressers realize how self-conscious your clients are about that one side there. So being able to add in 2, 3, yeah, look at that.
I mean, that's 2 she strands. That's a decent amount of hair to add to the side.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
It makes a big difference. One strand makes a big difference.
So it's, as far as for volume, and that's what we're talking about for creating styles or for opening up opportunities. There's a lot of women who will part their hair in the center. They don't like it, but they just are nervous that if they do part their hair to the side, that weak side, whichever one it's on, they really are self-conscious about that. You can correct that easily. There is also that spot right behind the ear. Every girl who does beachy waves, beachy curls, there's always that one spot right behind the ear that's always empty, and it drives them crazy, right? And I can't tell you how many times popping in 2, 3 strands right behind the ears, right through here, and it just fills in that missing gap of emptiness, right? And that's because the hair breaks across the body. Once it hits your shoulder, the hair breaks across the body. So that's another way of filling in real quick.
Something I like about that spot you're just talking about too is I found that this area right in here is one of the best areas for longer hair to put in a highlight or a low light or a fantasy color, red, green, blue, purple, on somebody who has a more professional job because they can hide it during the day at work. But then when they let their hair down, because when you put a hair up, if it's just right up inside the hairline, when your hair's up, it's covered. But when your hair comes down, that's what will show through here in the front. If it's behind your back, maybe not. But when you throw your hair around, that bright color, whether it be blonde or red, it's fun. And it's kind of a little subtle, a little hidden, but it can be hidden easily in a ponytail. Whereas when you put them on top, it's hard to hide them during the day. But I always had fun with that. A lot of nurses can show fantasy colors these days, but in the past they couldn't. And so they would get their highlights or their lowlights down underneath here, and they would show at night, but not during the day. So that's just a little trick that I had learned over the years. I exhausted all my notes except for a bad haircut. We kind of touched on a bad haircut.
It is so crucial. So when in the keratin bonds and the K-tips, you get a pack of 10. The keratin bonds are colored, the same color of the extension. And if you're trying to match up somebody's natural hair color, especially because if some areas may have been cut too short or may have been chopped up too much,
Mhm.
The ability to customize a keratin bond that's where it really plays to its strength,
Yeah.
especially with the bond being also colored and coming in the smaller increments. You can really go in and customize what you need to do. As far as the onstage strands go, because those are beaded, when the struggle with somebody trying to grow out a bad haircut, the ability to be able to continually remove the beaded strands and then readjust and remaneuver them around as the hair is growing out, you can really, that plays to its strength in that regards. And especially because they come in a pack of 25, it gives you more um, flexibility and freedom. You know, you don't have to order as many packs, but you can constantly rearrange and readjust the placement of them every couple of weeks. The trade-off is you come in a little more often, but then you can keep an eye on how that bad haircut is growing in. And then you can constantly readjust and reinforce how to change the client's style every month and a half, 2 months as well. Because when somebody's growing their hair out, you tell them, like, a client comes in and she says, I got a terrible haircut. I got this big chunk missing, blah, blah, blah. We go in and we're like, we blow dry the hair. Mrs. Jones, no worries. We'll blow dry your hair and we'll show you that it's not as bad as you think. You can get by.
Yeah.
But then she's locked into that one way of blow drying. And if the hair is up to here, that makes sense. But then as the hair comes, a couple inches longer because it's naturally growing, she'll come back in and say, it's just not working anymore. That just whatever I'm doing isn't working anymore. But yeah, you need to readjust the blow drying technique and approach because there's a new length now. There's added length now in there. So being able to add in the hair extensions plays into that beautifully.
Miss Jones had a lot of problems when we first met her. You should see her now. I mean, she looks amazing. Maybe RJ could link or put in the description below or one of those little boxes up here, a way to go to our teachable, Profitable Stylist teachable site where we show people how to fix some bad haircuts. One, because it's a free class. And one was the bangs.
That was fun.
We took a mannequin and just destroyed those bangs and it looks so bad and short. And then we fixed just half the bangs and made it longer. And that was the strength of she hair, right? We took that one big fat bond, cut it in half and then in half again. Maybe, I don't know how low. I think we went to 1/4 of a bonds, but
yeah, we went thirds and then we went to fourths because even the thirds wasn't enough. Yeah.
I think we might even use thirds and fourths depending on where we were. But like you said, with the keratin bond looking the same color as the extension hair and the model, which was a mannequin's hair, when we put them in there, we just got away from the very front hairline, went right behind it, but the bangs came down. So you could put them right on the front hairline depending on the way the person's going to style their hair. And if this person had bangs, but they just got cut too short, it's unlikely you're going to extend bangs to 10, 18, 22-inch hair. And I see he already put the link there in the comments. So in the comments,
check
you can
that
go,
out.
Huh? That was
Got it up on screen.
Oh, and on screen. Oh, I've never seen it. But I like that is it covering you or covering me?
None of us. Neither one of us. It's just on the bottom where you see it.
Okay. In my view, I see it covering half your body. And so it just already improved the quality of the viewer area. But the bang area, depending on how a person wears their hair. And then we had somebody with thinner hair on the sides, I think, and we added hair to thicken the side. And I don't know if we did highlight or low light, but that was a free class too. So we've got a few free classes that you guys can go check out. And
that one was with a highlight. It was a different color. And the reason why we were using the different color was to be able to show the difference of why placement matters and show the contrast of how it's now going to be falling through alongside with the hair, with the natural hair as well. So it was a dual purpose to show contrast, to show dimension, and to show placement strategy.
And just one more quick story about extensions. It's such a powerful thing. If you don't even try to sell the length, which I try not to sell the length sometimes. I had a lady in here and she starts with a consultation request and I text and then I ask for pictures and they send it and her hair is about right past the shoulders and all of her complaints, problems, and challenges are my hair's thin. I'm thinking, let's thicken it. And she says, but I think I want it down to about my bra strap. I'm like, well, you mean it's short and thin because you just said it's thin and that's what you want to fix. She wants it fixed, thicker, and you might as well go longer. Well, now you've added time, challenge, and money. Fine, we'll do it. But then you risk losing the consultation, losing the money in the consultation because now they're like, ooh,
It's an added cost, right?
that's more than I thought it would be.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
never hesitate to bring them right back down to reality, because it's just like anything. I went to go buy a tractor, and they're like, but you may want this model. I'm like, of course I want that model, air conditioned cab, but I don't need and only $150,000. Cool.
Yeah, right.
I don't need it though. And so just remember with the clients, bring them right back down to what all they really needed. I was like, you know what? You even 14-inch hair will be longer on your head. And so like that's 14. She's here. 14 will be longer. It's not 18, but it's longer. It's in this area here. And it'll thicken your hair. It'll be easier to blend with your shorter, almost bob looking hair. And I did the price differences. And I think she said, I don't want it too thick. I like my finer, thinner hair. Last time I got extensions, they made it too thick on the ends. I was like, 2 single plus density wefts. We did the prices. I don't think I'd ever done 2 14 inches in single plus before. So we brought the price up and the market, it was less than $1,000. It was somewhere around with a pack of strands. I think it was $800 or $900. And I'm talking to the technician. I said, if we don't use the strands, it might be 100. And she goes 200 less. I think it was around 600 or 700. So who thought you could get a full head of extensions for about $600 or $700? I didn't realize that even we could do extensions for that little money. That was a huge benefit to her. She's like, well, I'm definitely doing it then. Because at first it was like she wanted bra strap length and she wanted it, more than what she really, really originally wanted. She got caught up in the excitement, And so when she saw the price was like, okay, so it's 14 to 1600 or 6 to 900. She's like, I think the 14-inch is actually enough. I said, and you can always go longer later.
Everybody should just grab one of these, man. This is your best friend. Keep it at your station.
I don't even know what you got there. Is that this?
It's yeah.
Yours is square?
Yeah, mine's square.
I never
because it's got a level on it. That's why.
Oh, okay.
I can I can make sure it's level on the head.
I went in the other room and I asked for a tape measure right before we got started, and RJ grabs a big carpenter's tape measure. I was like, no, not that. I need the cute little one that we can use in a salon. And just don't get confused with the centimeter side. You've got to use the
no, you need the inches side.
Well, I mean, you can use centimeters if you're ordering in centimeters, but just don't accidentally go for there's no 14. Every 10 is subdivided into individual numbers. Yeah, I don't get centimeters at all. I am definitely an American. Sorry, guys.
The reason why I'm saying that you should keep a tape measure by you is because you don't know, like some people, they don't have a neck. Some people have an ostrich or a giraffe neck. Some people have a longer torso than others, So yeah, and all that matters. How that falls onto the body and where that falls onto the body makes a huge difference. So that's the best advice I'll tell you.
I'm all done. Comet here. Comet doesn't want to be on screen. What's your
he just wants attention, but he doesn't want everybody.
He wants me to pet him, but he don't want to be on screen. Yeah, Casper would.
Well, it's a great topic. Next week we have an interview slated up, so that'll be fun.
Oh yeah, next week's gonna be fun. We're gonna talk to somebody who uses a whole bunch. This is Casper. He likes me more than Comet. So we're gonna be talking with Kayla. She uses a lot of our beaded toppers. You bored? The volumizer and enhancer through our beaded topper line. So we're going to talk to her about how she's in the Metairie, New Orleans area. So we're going to talk to her about how she uses them, why, what she charges. And I think that's going to be a really good. Now, that's assuming she doesn't book a client and cancel us. But tentatively.
Tentatively speaking, we're going to have a special
next
guest next
Thursday.
week. So tune in next
Yep.
Thursday.
Yep. See y'all then.
Thanks for watching.